Do you ever feel like you're not the one in the driver's seat of your own life? Like some invisible force is steering your choices, your reactions, and even the patterns you can't seem to stop repeating? You're not alone. Most of us believe we're the authors of our own stories. We think our choices are conscious and our reactions are reasonable.
Right.
But the great psychologist Carl Jung spent his life trying to show us a different reality. He knew that there's another version of you operating just beneath the surface. It's older than your logic, faster than your reasoning, and it's been making decisions for you since you were a child. Jung called it the shadow. And his warning was simple: until you face it, it faces the world for you. Let's rewind. When you were a child, you didn't have a filter. You arrived as a complete package, messy, emotional, hungry, loud, curious, and soft. You had the full range of human experience, but then the world started sending signals. Some parts of you were welcomed, and some were not. When you cried too much, you were told to stop. When you were too angry, you were punished. Too sensitive, you were weak. Too ambitious, don't get ahead of yourself. Too loud, too strange, too needy. The message came back again and again. Those parts of you are not acceptable. So, you did what any smart kid does. You hid them. You packed up those pieces of yourself and stored them out of sight. Then, you built a version of yourself the world could accept. Jung called this the persona, the mask we wear in public. And there's nothing wrong with having a mask. The danger comes when we forget it. Is a mask. When we start to believe that this curated, presentable version of ourselves is the whole story, because everything you lock away doesn't just disappear, it doesn't die, it grows. It organizes itself in the dark, builds pressure, and eventually it finds ways to express itself, ways you didn't choose and can't always explain. This is what Jung meant when he said the shadow is the thing a person has no wish to be. It's not necessarily evil, it's just everything that didn't make the cut. The rage you were taught was unacceptable, the grief you were told to just get over, the ambition you buried because you were afraid of what people would think. All of it is in the shadow, and all of it is still running the show. Now here's where it gets really uncomfortable. The things we suppress in ourselves, we start seeing everywhere else. This is called projection. If you buried your own anger so deep you don't feel it, you'll start seeing angry people everywhere. Neutral comments will sound hostile. You'll find yourself in conflict over and over, genuinely believing the problem is always out there. Have you suppressed your own selfishness? You'll become obsessed with how selfish other people are, judging them with a righteous fury that just doesn't fit the situation. That's the shadow speaking, not through your voice, but through your reactions. Jung offered a powerful diagnostic tool. Whatever triggers you most intensely is worth examining most closely. I'm not talking about a mild irritation. I mean that deep, gut level, almost irrational heat you feel toward certain people or behaviors. That level of charge is rarely just about what's in front of you. It's almost always connected to something inside you that you haven't acknowledged. When something outside of you can completely destabilize you, keep you up at night, and make you lose your cool, Jung asks you to turn the question around. What is this mirroring back to me? What does this huge reaction tell me about what I haven't been willing to look at? Most people never ask that question. They spend their entire lives pointing outward. And the shadow is perfectly happy to let them. But it's not all darkness. Most conversations about the shadow focus on repressed anger or shame. And yes, it's vital to acknowledge our capacity for darkness. But the shadow also contains what Jung called the golden shadow. These are the parts of you that are luminous, brilliant, and powerful. But you suppress them anyway, because they felt too big, too visible, or too dangerous. The artist who gave up creating because they were told it wasn't practical. The natural leader who makes themselves small because leadership felt arrogant. The deep intelligence someone plays down because they were punished for being too smart as a child. These aren't weaknesses you locked away. These are your gifts, buried right alongside the darkness, waiting for the same thing to be seen. This is what Jung meant by individuation. It's not about getting rid of the shadow, but integrating it. It's the process of becoming whole by stopping the war inside yourself. And this is where his warning becomes most urgent. Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Think about the patterns in your life that just keep repeating, the relationship that follows the exact same arc every time. The career pattern where you get to a certain point and then self-sabotaged, The cycle of wanting to change, making progress, and then mysteriously sliding back. The same argument with different people. Jung is saying, this isn't bad luck. This is the shadow, staging the same play with new actors, waiting for you to finally recognize the script. But here's the most important part. The shadow is not your enemy. It doesn't want to destroy you. It's the part of you that has been waiting the longest to be included. It acts out not from malice, but from neglect. The more you deny it, the louder it gets. This is why, in Jung's view, the most dangerous person isn't the one who knows they are capable of cruelty. It's the one who is completely convinced they are not. The person who has built their entire identity around being good and has pushed everything else so far underground that it operates completely outside their awareness. So how do you start working with your shadow? It begins with something deceptively simple. Attention. Not judgment, not fixing, just honest attention. Watch for the moments your reaction is way bigger than the situation warrants. Notice when you feel suddenly defensive for no clear reason. These are doorways where the shadow is closest to the surface. Ask yourself what stories you tell about yourself that feel non-negotiable. I am not an angry person. I am not selfish. The things we are most certain we are not are often the things most worth examining. Look at what you judge most harshly in others. What truly disturbs you? Spend time with that feeling. Not to accuse yourself, but to ask, is there any part of this, even a tiny piece, that I recognize in myself? And look at what you haven't allowed yourself to be, the ambitions you dismissed, the emotions you labeled as weakness. This isn't about unleashing every impulse. It's about honest acknowledgement, simply saying, yes, this is in me too. I am capable of this. That simple, humble recognition is what breaks the shadow's grip, because its power comes entirely from being denied. The moment you turn and look at it, it stops having to scream for your attention. This is the real invitation from Jung. The life you've been living in one small room is not the full life available to you. There is more of you here, darker, yes, but also brighter, stranger, more capable, and more alive. The unexamined life, the one where we keep running the same patterns and calling it fate, belongs to the shadow, and the shadow has no interest in your freedom. The question is, are you willing to meet yourself? Not the polished version, but the full, unedited, complicated, shadow-carrying, gold-containing human being that you actually are. Because Jung's warning was never really about the shadow. It was a warning about the devastating cost of never meeting it. Thanks for watching.